Hey Capricorn, I just sat down with my tarot deck because the energy around you right now is absolutely wild and I needed to understand what the universe is trying to tell you about this situation where you are completely obsessed with someone, but things are taking a completely different turn than what you expected. This is one of those readings where I had to pull the cards multiple times because the message was so intense, and I want to make sure I am getting this right for you. So grab your coffee or tea, get comfortable, because what I am about to share with you is going to make so much sense once you hear it all the way through. Before I even shuffled the deck, I could feel this energy of someone who has been thinking about another person constantly. Like this person is living rent-free in your head, Capricorn, and you know exactly who I am talking about. You have been obsessing over this connection, replaying conversations, checking your phone, wondering what they are doing, if they are thinking about you too. And this energy has been consuming you in a way that is honestly not like your usual grounded self. But here is what the cards are screaming at me right now. Something very different is about to happen than what you have been imagining in your mind. And this thread you have been holding on to is getting so thin it is almost breaking. Let me pull the first card for you and see what is actually going on in this situation. The card I got is the Fool. And this is fascinating because the Fool represents new beginnings, taking leaps of faith, but also being somewhat naive or not seeing the full picture of what you are walking into. This tells me that your obsession with this person has kept you in this state of innocent hope. Like you have been viewing this connection through rose-colored glasses, believing that if you just wait long enough or hope hard enough, things will work out the way you want them to. You have been at the edge of this cliff, Capricorn, ready to jump into something with this person, but you have not been fully aware of what is actually down there waiting for you. The Fool energy suggests you have been so focused on the potential, on what could be, that you have not been paying attention to what actually is. And this is where the universe is about to step in and show you reality in a way you did not expect. The interesting thing about the Fool in this position is that it also represents a journey that has not really started yet, despite all the energy you have been putting into it mentally and emotionally. You have been obsessing, yes, but nothing concrete has actually happened. Or if something has happened, it has been so minimal that you have been building it up into something much bigger in your mind. This is the card of infinite possibilities, but also infinite uncertainty, and you have been living in that uncertainty, letting your imagination run wild about where this could go. But Capricorn, the universe is about to change the game completely, and I need you to stay with me because the next cards are going to show you exactly how this is going to unfold in a way you absolutely did not see coming. Let me pull the next card to see what this different thing is that is about to happen. I got 3 of Pentacles. And this is really interesting because this card is about collaboration, teamwork, building something with others, and recognition for your skills and talents. Now, you might be wondering how this connects to your obsession with someone, but here is what I am seeing. While you have been so focused on this one person, pouring all your mental and emotional energy into this obsession, the universe has been setting up a completely different opportunity for you that involves working with people, being recognized for what you bring to the table, and building something meaningful in a practical sense. This could be in your career, a creative project, a business venture, or even a social situation where you are going to be collaborating with others and your talents are going to shine. The 3 of Pentacles is telling me that what is about to happen is not going to be about romance or this person you have been obsessing over at all. Instead, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you are valued for your competence, your work ethic, your ability to contribute something real and tangible. This is where the thread of your obsession starts to break, Capricorn. Because as this new opportunity comes into your life and you start to engage with it, you are going to realize that you have been wasting your energy on someone who was never going to give you what you actually need. The universe is redirecting your focus from fantasy and obsession to reality and recognition. And this is going to feel strange at first, because you have been so attached to this idea of being with this person. What I am also picking up from the 3 of Pentacles is that this shift is going to involve other people who see your value in ways this person you have been obsessing over never did. These collaborators, colleagues, or new connections are going to appreciate your skills, your dedication, your unique perspective, and this is going to start filling that empty space you have been trying to fill with your obsession. The card shows three figures working together on something beautiful and lasting, and this tells me you are moving away from the instability and uncertainty of your current emotional state into something that has structure, purpose, and mutual respect. This is not what you thought was coming, but it is exactly what you need. Let me see what else the cards want to show about how this situation is hanging by a thread. I pulled Judgment, and this card is huge because it represents awakening, clarity, seeing the truth after a period of confusion, and making decisions based on a higher understanding. Judgment is that moment when everything suddenly makes sense, when you can see a situation for what it truly is rather than what you wished it would be. For you, Capricorn, this card is telling me there is going to be a moment of absolute clarity coming very soon, where you suddenly wake up from this obsessive state and realize what has actually been happening. It is like you have been in a fog, and suddenly the fog lifts and you can see the landscape clearly for the first time. This awakening is going to be triggered by something specific. Maybe something this person does or does not do, maybe something someone else says to you, maybe just an accumulation of small things that suddenly add up to a big realization. But when Judgment appears, it means you cannot unsee what you are about to see. Once you have this clarity, you cannot go back to the innocent hoping of the fool. You cannot pretend anymore that this obsession is leading anywhere meaningful. The thread breaks at the moment of Judgment. And while this might feel painful initially because you have invested so much emotional energy here, it is actually incredibly liberating because you will finally be free from this mental prison you have been living in. Judgment also speaks to a kind of rebirth or resurrection, which tells me that after this awakening, after this thread breaks, you are going to experience a renewal of yourself. The version of you that was obsessing over someone who was not fully available or present or reciprocating your energy is going to die, and a new version of you is going to emerge who has learned this lesson and is not going to repeat this pattern. This is a spiritual upgrade, Capricorn, even though it might not feel like it in the moment. The universe is calling you to a higher level of self-awareness and emotional maturity, and this situation is the catalyst for that growth. Now I need to pull another card because I want to see what happens with this person you have been obsessing over once this thread breaks. I got King of Cups, and this is really telling because the King of Cups represents emotional maturity, someone who has mastered their feelings, who is compassionate and understanding, but also has strong boundaries. Here is what I think this card is showing me. Either this person you have been obsessing over is actually emotionally mature and has been trying to maintain boundaries with you this whole time, which is why things have not progressed the way you wanted. Or you are about to step into your own King of Cups energy, where you finally take control of your emotions instead of letting them control you. I am leaning more toward the second interpretation because the King of Cups appearing after Judgment suggests that once you have that awakening and the thread breaks, you are going to access this very mature, balanced emotional state where you can look at this whole situation with compassion for yourself without judgment. Understanding why you got so caught up in this obsession, but also knowing that it is time to release it. The King of Cups knows how to feel deeply without being overwhelmed by feelings, and this is the energy you are moving into. You are learning how to love and desire without becoming obsessed. How to be open to connection without losing yourself in the process. What is really beautiful about the King of Cups in this reading is that it suggests you are not going to be bitter or angry about this situation once the clarity comes. You are going to be able to process your feelings in a healthy way, maybe even maintain some kind of dignified distance or cordial relationship with this person if that is appropriate, but the obsessive quality will be completely gone. You will have emotional sovereignty again, and this is priceless. The King of Cups sits on his throne calmly, even when the seas around him are rough, and this is going to be you once you move through this transition. Let me look at what is actually going on with this person you have been obsessing over and what their energy is in all of this. I pulled Justice, and this card is so appropriate here because justice is about truth, consequences, balance, and things being revealed exactly as they are. This tells me that this person has been dealing with their own situation that has nothing to do with you, and the truth of their circumstances is going to become very clear very soon. Justice suggests there might be legal matters, contracts, commitments, or serious decisions they are involved in that have prevented them from being available to you in the way you wanted. This could be a marriage, a business partnership, family obligations, legal issues, whatever it is. There are binding circumstances in their life that you might not have fully understood or acknowledged. Justice is also the card of karma and consequences, which makes me think that while you have been obsessing over this person and imagining a future with them, they have been dealing with the consequences of choices they made before you came into the picture. They might be tied to situations or people in ways that are not easy to untangle, and this is why things have felt so stuck and uncertain. The scales of justice need to be balanced, and sometimes that means accepting that certain connections cannot happen the way we want them to, because there are other factors and commitments that take precedence. This is not about anyone being good or bad. It is simply about the reality of circumstances. What justice is telling you is that this person cannot give you what you want, not because they do not care about you necessarily, but because their life is structured in a way that does not have room for what you are hoping for. And here is where the thread really shows its fragility, because you have been holding on to hope that somehow circumstances will change, that somehow they will become available, that somehow this will work out. But justice says the circumstances are what they are, the commitments are what they are, and no amount of wishing or waiting is going to change the fundamental reality. This is the harsh truth that judgment is going to make you see, and once you see it clearly, you cannot maintain the obsession anymore because you will understand it was never really based on real possibility. I want to pull another card to see what you should be focusing on instead of this obsession. What the universe wants you to turn your attention to. I got Four of Swords, and this is such an important message. Four of Swords is about rest, retreat, recovery, taking time to heal and restore yourself mentally and emotionally. This card appears when someone has been in battle, when they have been fighting or struggling or expending enormous amounts of energy, and they desperately need to step back and recuperate. Capricorn, your obsession with this person has been exhausting you, even if you have not fully acknowledged it. All that mental energy, all that emotional investment, all that hoping and waiting and wondering, it has been draining your life force, and you need to rest. The Four of Swords is telling you that when this thread breaks and the clarity comes, your job is not to immediately jump into something else or try to fill the void with another obsession or distraction. Your job is to be still, to rest, to give yourself space to process what happened and why you got so caught up in it. This is a time for meditation, reflection, gentle self-care, maybe even some time alone where you are not trying to be anything for anyone. The figure in the Four of Swords is lying down in a sacred space, taking sanctuary, and this is what you need. You need sanctuary from your own mind, from the obsessive thoughts, from the constant analyzing and hoping. What I love about this card appearing here is that it shows the universe is giving you permission to stop fighting. Stop trying to make something happen. Stop pushing energy towards someone who is not reciprocating it fully. You can lay down your sword, you can rest, and in that rest, healing will happen naturally. The Four of Swords suggests that after a period of stillness and recovery, you will have much more clarity about what you actually want in a relationship, what you deserve, and what you are willing to accept or not accept. This is preparation for a better future. But first you have to allow yourself this time of restoration. Let me see what else the cards want you to know about this different thing that is happening instead of what you expected. I pulled Queen of Pentacles, and this is beautiful because the Queen of Pentacles is about abundance, practical nurturing, creating stability and comfort, being grounded in reality. This card suggests that as you move away from the obsession and into the rest and recovery phase, you are going to start building something real and tangible in your life that brings you actual satisfaction. This could be focusing on your career and making more money, creating a beautiful living space, taking care of your health and body, investing in your skills and education, anything that is practical and makes your life materially and physically better. The Queen of Pentacles is telling you that the different thing that is about to happen is that you are going to fall in love with your own life, with creating security and beauty and comfort for yourself. You are going to realize that you do not need this person you have been obsessing over to feel complete or happy, because you can create everything you need on your own. This is a very empowering shift, moving from obsessing over someone else to obsessing over your own well-being and success in a healthy way. The Queen of Pentacles knows her worth. She knows what she brings to the table, and she does not waste her time on people who do not appreciate her or cannot match her level of stability and groundedness. This card is also about nurturing yourself with the same energy you have been directing toward this other person. All that care, all that attention, all that hope and tenderness, turn it inward. Nurture yourself, invest in yourself, build your own kingdom. The Queen of Pentacles sits on her throne surrounded by abundance that she created through her own efforts and wisdom. And this is your future if you can release this obsession and redirect that energy toward your own growth and stability. The universe is saying you are too valuable to be hanging by a thread, waiting for someone who is not fully showing up for you. I need to pull one more card to see what the final outcome of all this is going to be. How this story ends. I got 9 of Swords, and I have to be honest with you, Capricorn. This card initially looks scary because it is the card of anxiety, worry, sleepless nights, mental anguish. But context is everything in tarot, and in this reading, I interpret the 9 of Swords as showing the worst-case scenario of what happens if you do not break this thread. If you continue to hold on to this obsession despite all the signs and clarity the universe is sending you, this card is warning you about where you will end up mentally and emotionally if you ignore the messages of all the other cards. If you continue obsessing over someone who cannot or will not give you what you need, if you ignore the opportunities showing up in the 3 of Pentacles, if you resist the awakening of judgment, if you do not take the rest offered in the 4 of Swords, if you do not step into your own abundance with the Queen of Pentacles, you will find yourself in 9 of Swords energy. This means sleepless nights tortured by thoughts of this person, anxiety about what they are doing or thinking, mental loops that go nowhere, stress that affects your physical health, isolation because you are so caught up in your head that you cannot engage with real life. This is the universe showing you very clearly, this is where this path leads if you stay on it, and it is not pretty. But here is the thing. The 9 of Swords can also represent that dark night of the soul that comes right before a breakthrough. That moment of hitting rock bottom that finally motivates someone to make a change. So maybe for you, maybe you need to experience a taste of this 9 of Swords energy, a really bad night or a really anxious day where you realize how much this obsession is hurting you, and that becomes the catalyst for finally letting go. Sometimes we need to feel the full weight of our pain before we are willing to release what is causing it. The 9 of Swords could be that final wake-up call that makes everything else click into place. What I want you to understand, Capricorn, is that you have a choice here. The cards have shown you 2 paths very clearly. One path is continuing to hold on to this obsessive energy, waiting for someone who has their own complex situation involving justice, exhausting yourself, and potentially ending up in real mental anguish represented by the 9 of Swords. The other path is accepting the awakening of judgment, taking the rest offered by 4 of Swords, focusing on building your own abundance with Queen of Pentacles, and letting your energy shift toward the practical opportunities of 3 of Pentacles. The thread is already fraying, it is already so thin, and the universe is honestly trying to help you by preparing to break it so you can be free. Let me pull one final card just to see what message the universe most wants you to remember from this reading. I got 2 of Swords, and this is perfect. Absolutely perfect as a final card. 2 of Swords is about being at a crossroads, having to make a decision, being in a stalemate where you cannot move forward until you choose a direction. The figure in this card is blindfolded, holding 2 swords crossed in front of their heart, and this is exactly where you are right now. You have been at this crossroads for a while, knowing deep down that this obsession is not healthy or leading anywhere. But you have been afraid to make the decision to let go because what if you are wrong? What if you give up right before things could have worked out? What if this person eventually becomes available? The 2 of Swords is telling you that the blindfold needs to come off. You need to see the situation clearly, which connects back to judgment. You need to lower those defensive swords you are holding up and stop protecting yourself from the truth. Yes, it might hurt to acknowledge that this connection is not going where you hoped, that this person cannot give you what you want right now or maybe ever. that you have been investing in something that does not have a foundation. But staying in this stalemate, staying blindfolded, staying frozen at this crossroads, this hurts too. It just hurts in a slower, more insidious way that keeps you stuck. The Two of Swords is a card of decision, and you are being called to decide. Are you going to keep feeding this obsession, or are you going to consciously choose to let go and redirect your energy toward your own life, your own growth, your own opportunities? The interesting thing is that even though Two of Swords looks passive, like someone just sitting there, making the decision to remove the blindfold and choose a path is actually a very active, powerful move. You have more agency here than you realize. You can choose to break the thread yourself, rather than waiting for it to snap. You can choose clarity over confusion, peace over obsession, self-love over waiting for someone else to love you the way you deserve. So here is what I see happening for you, Capricorn. This situation that you have been so consumed by, this person you have been obsessing over, this is all about to shift dramatically in a way you did not predict. The thread connecting you to this situation is so fragile right now, it is hanging by almost nothing, and either it is going to snap naturally as circumstances reveal themselves, or you are going to make the conscious choice to cut it yourself once you gain the clarity that is coming. Something different is about to happen, yes, but it is not going to be this person suddenly becoming available or this connection suddenly taking off the way you imagined. What is going to happen is that you are going to wake up to reality. You are going to see things as they truly are, and you are going to realize you have been wasting precious energy on something that was never really viable. The different thing that happens is that you shift your focus. You stop obsessing over someone else and you start investing in yourself. You take up the opportunities to collaborate and be recognized for your skills. You give yourself the rest and recovery your mind and heart desperately need. You build your own abundance and stability. You step into emotional maturity where you can feel without being consumed. And yes, you might go through some anxiety and mental anguish in the transition. That dark night where you finally feel the full weight of what this obsession has cost you. But that is the low point before things get better. That is the catalyst for real change. The universe is not punishing you or being cruel by showing you this truth. The universe is actually loving you enough to break this thread before you waste more time, before you invest more energy, before you miss out on the real opportunities and connections that are trying to come into your life. Sometimes the kindest thing the universe can do is destroy our illusions so we can see what is real. And what is real right now is that you deserve better than hanging by a thread. You deserve better than obsessing over someone who cannot fully show up. You deserve stability and reciprocity and clarity. I know this. Might not be what you wanted to hear when you sat down, hoping for messages about how this person is going to suddenly realize they want you or how this is all going to work out romantically. But Capricorn, you are so much more powerful than you realize, and you are being called to recognize your own worth. You are being called to step away from fantasy and into reality, from obsession into balance, from waiting for someone else to becoming everything you need for yourself. The cards are not saying you will never have love or partnership. In fact, they are saying the opposite. By releasing this obsession and focusing on yourself, you actually create space for something genuine and reciprocal to enter your life eventually. Something that does not leave you hanging by a thread, but instead offers you solid ground to stand on together. So take a breath, feel whatever you are feeling about this message, and then start the process of letting go. Remove the blindfold. See the truth. Make the decision. Let the thread break. Rest and recover. Build your own beautiful life. Step into your power as the queen of your own pentacles. Trust that what is meant for you will not require you to obsess or beg or wait endlessly. It will flow naturally when you are no longer blocked by this situation that is taking up all your energy. You are going to be okay, Capricorn. Actually, you are going to be better than okay. You are going to be free.